You know that phrase, go with your gut feeling? Well, what if I told you that's not just some old saint? It turns out it's actual biology. Today, we're going to dive deep into the absolutely incredible science of the gut brain axis and find out why that complex world inside your stomach might just be your body's second brain.
Just let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about a few cells. We're talking about more neurons than a cat has in its entire brain. This completely changes the game. We're not just talking about digestion anymore. We're talking about a second powerful center of intelligence that's operating inside you right now.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? If your gut is talking, what is it trying to say? In this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. The messages your body is sending you day in and day out. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. This whole idea of a thinking gut, it isn't science fiction. It's totally grounded in a seriously complex biological system that honestly science is just now starting to wrap its head around. For the longest time, even in medicine, the gut was just seen as, simple plumbing. Food goes in, waste comes out, end of story. But that view is completely outdated. The new reality? The gut is a command center, a second brain that has this profound influence over basically everything: our mood, our immune system, even how we think. So the official name for this system is the enteric nervous system, or ENS for short. And here's the part that's just mind-blowing. This network is so smart, so sophisticated that if you actually cut the main nerve connecting it to the brain in your head, the gut would just keep on doing its thing. It is truly a brain in its own right. And just look at its resume. We're talking more neurons than your entire spinal cord. It's manufacturing the exact same chemicals, neurotransmitters like serotonin, that your brain uses to control how you feel. It's a total powerhouse, running digestion, managing blood flow, and even talking to all the microbes that live in there.
So you've got these two brains. How do they talk to each other? Well, it's not some tiny little back road. It's a massive, multi-lane superhighway of information. But what's really wild is that the flow of traffic, it's surprisingly one-sided. Check this out. This is maybe one of the most shocking facts about this whole thing. A staggering 80% of all the communication, all the signals traveling along this superhighway are going from the gut up to the brain. Only 20% goes the other way. Think about that. Your gut is doing most of the talking. But it definitely is a two-way street. I mean, we've all felt this, right? You get stressed or anxious about something, and suddenly your stomach is in knots. That's the brain talking to the gut. But the reverse is just as true, and maybe even more important. When your gut is inflamed or out of balance, it doesn't just stay there. It sends these alarm signals straight up to the brain, which can directly cause or worsen feelings of anxiety and depression. Okay, so we can't possibly talk about the gut without talking about, well, who actually lives there? Because you're not just you. You are an entire walking, talking ecosystem. 100 trillion. That is a number so big, it's hard to even imagine. It's more than 10 times the number of human cells in your whole body. So yeah, by sheer cell count, you're actually more bacteria than you are human. And these little guys aren't just along for the ride. They are critical, active partners in your health. And their job description is huge. I mean, they're digesting food our bodies can't handle, they're creating essential vitamins, and get this, they're responsible for training about 70% of our immune system. And crucially for this conversation, they are chemical factories, pumping out neurotransmitters that directly regulate how we feel. Seriously, let this number land. 90% of your serotonin, the main feel-good chemical that keeps your mood stable, helps you sleep, and controls your appetite, is not made in your brain. It's made in your gut, and its production is massively influenced by these bacteria. This completely changes how we should think about mental health. It might explain why sometimes just focusing on brain chemistry doesn't work, because we're missing the other, much bigger part of the picture. So, what happens when this incredibly complex, delicate system goes wrong? Well, this is where a lot of modern health problems really start. The first major problem is something called dysbiosis. It's basically a fancy word for an imbalance. The bad guys, the harmful bacteria, start to outnumber the good guys. And it's super common. Things like chronic stress, a diet packed with sugar, or even a single round of antibiotics can be enough to completely tip the scales. And that imbalance, that dysbiosis, is often what leads to the next big problem: leaky gut. See, the lining of your intestine is supposed to be a strong barrier, but it's incredibly thin, only one single cell thick. When the bad guys take over, they can damage that barrier, creating tiny gaps. This allows stuff that should stay inside your gut, like undigested food and toxins, to leak out into your bloodstream. And when that happens, your immune system goes on high alert, creating inflammation all over your body.
And the fallout from this is huge. It's not just about a little bloating or an upset stomach. We're talking about chronic, body-wide inflammation that can show up as anything from weird food sensitivities and brain fog to serious autoimmune conditions, anxiety, depression, and even skin issues like acne and eczema. Okay, so that was the not-so-great news. But here's the really good news. You have a tremendous amount of power to fix this. So let's walk through a simple, straightforward path to start restoring that inner ecosystem.
You can break down the healing process into a simple 4-step plan. Step 1, remove. You've got to get rid of the stuff that's causing the irritation in the first place. Step 2, add. You bring in healing, nutrient-rich foods to calm everything down. Step 3, rebalance. This is where you feed your good bacteria and add more to the team with things like prebiotics and probiotics. And finally, step 4, repair. You give your body the specific nutrients it needs to patch up that gut lining.
And look, this does not have to be some huge, overwhelming project. It's really all about making small, simple swaps that add up to have a massive impact. Instead of that sugary cereal, maybe try some oats with berries to feed your good microbes. Instead of a soda, grab a kombucha to get some probiotics. Every one of these little choices helps you rebuild. But you gotta remember that two-way street we talked about. You can eat the perfect diet, but if your brain is constantly pumping stress signals down to your gut, you're never gonna fully heal. Managing your stress, whether it's meditation, a walk in nature, simple breathing exercises, it's not a nice to have. For gut health, it is absolutely non-negotiable. And please, be patient with yourself. This is a journey, it's a process. Honestly, those first couple of weeks can be a little tough as your body adjusts. But stick with it, because usually around week 3 or 4, people start to feel a real shift. More energy, less bloating, a more stable mood. And before you know it, you've established a whole new, healthier normal. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started. That gut feeling is your second brain. It's constantly taking in millions of bits of information from inside you and around you, and it gives you a read on a situation long before your thinking brain can even catch up. It's pure biology, not magic. When you boil it all down, what all this science is really telling us is that your body is in a constant conversation with you. It's sending you signals all the time about your health, your mood, your environment, even the choices you're making. So the only real question left is, are you ready to start listening?